Hey y'all, how y'all doing? This is your girl Tysheen. How you feeling? How you doing? Hope you doing great. Yeah, so I'm gonna be reacting to the dark truth about Ellen Degeneres. I've heard a lot of stories about her. Not good stories, bad stories. I've heard about her co-workers complain about her being this mean, I guess mean boss. I heard, yeah. I heard that she's very funny when it comes to like, she doesn't like her staff to be like eating certain foods. She don't like certain smell. Like all these things I'm hearing kind of surprise me, because when you see her on TV, she comes off like a very sweet person, you know, because you know she's always dancing and smiling and cracking up jokes and doing pranks, and she always do giveaways and stuff like that. So when you see these things, you're thinking, okay, that person's a very sweet person, but like behind closed doors, like you're shocked to hear all these negative things about that person. So yeah, but let's get straight to this video.
Ellen Degeneres is not who you think she is. From the outside, she appears to be a kind woman whose only goal is to spread love and positivity, but the reality is very different. For years, she maintained the image of the benevolent talk show host that could do no wrong, and viewers of the Ellen Show had little reason to think anything else. Almost everything she did showed her to be a genuine and caring person. She constantly gave out gifts to her guests, made donations to charity, and preached about the importance of kindness. Even the mantra for her show was be kind to one another. But in 2020, amid emerging reports of a toxic workplace culture, more and more people started coming forward about their horrible experiences with Ellen. From Mariah Carey being manipulated by Ellen to reveal her pregnancy before she was ready, to her heartless treatment of the rising kid star Grayson Chance, there are countless stories that show Ellen is far more sinister than she seems. After 19 years on air, the Ellen Show has finally come to an end. But just how bad were the things that went on behind the scenes, and what type of person is Ellen when the cameras aren't rolling? In March 2020, the comedian Kevin T. Porter tweeted that Ellen is one of the meanest people alive, before asking people to respond to his tweets with the most insane stories they've heard about her being mean. For each story submitted, he said he'd donate $2 to the LA Food Bank. The tweets got thousands of replies, many of which were quite disturbing. A TV writer called Benjamin
But how did they know that? Like, how did they know?
Demon shared a few stories he'd heard. She has a sensitive nose, so everyone must chew gum from a bowl outside her office before talking to her. And if she thinks you smell that day, you have to go home and shower. A new star.
I didn't know that part. I mean, like I said, I did mention that she doesn't like certain smell, but I didn't know that she was sending him home to take a shower. That's embarrassing. I wouldn't even come back to work. I don't care.
Staff member was told every day she picks someone different to really hate. It's not your fault, just suck it up for the day and she'll be mean to someone else the next day. They didn't believe it, but it ended up being entirely true. When she's in a bad mood, staff members were highly encouraged by upper management to go into her office and do bits to cheer her up. Of course, there was no way to tell whether the stories were really true or not, but judging by the sheer number of people saying very similar things, this really didn't look good for Ellen. Her problems got worse after the pandemic sent the nation into lockdown. A news report from Variety revealed that Ellen's crew members received no communication about the status of their working hours or pay for over a month. Ellen hired an external tech company to begin shooting the show out of her California mansion, leaving her employees completely in the dark about their situation. When producers finally weighed in, they told crew members they'd be getting a 60% reduction in pay despite the show continuing to air. This looked even worse because other talk show hosts like Jimmy Kimmel paid their workers in full out of their own pockets. Threads started popping up on Reddit saying Ellen was never a nice person and all of this is nothing new. People were sharing uncomfortable interviews of hers from the past. There was an old interview with Taylor Swift where Ellen kept prying into her love life to the point that she almost broke down.
Ring it on 3 different guys. We'll narrow it down. You're supposed to ring
But
one.
I don't want to. I don't want to.
I'll hold it for you.
This is me.
Okay, all right.
There was also the awkward interview
Was she really crying? I don't know.
with Celine Dion, in which Ellen kept asking when she was going to cut her son's hair.
All right, well, it seems like you're busy with something because you're forgetting to cut your son's hair. Look at him. He is beautiful, but look at his hair. When are you going to cut that hair?
And then there was a time she tried making Mariah Carey drink alcohol to expose whether or not she was pregnant.
This one.
Let's toast to you not being pregnant. If you're not pregnant, then we should.
My goodness.
This is messed up. She's not drinking.
You're pregnant. You're pregnant.
didn't say that. No.
Mariah later said this experience made her feel extremely uncomfortable because she was in fact pregnant at the time. She was reluctant to share the news publicly until she reached her second trimester, when the risk of miscarriage falls. What makes this story even worse is that not long after the interview, Mariah did miscarry. She kept this to herself at the time, but amidst the news about Ellen in 2020, Mariah spoke out against the way she was treated. There have been numerous awkward interviews just like this over the years. You could argue Ellen was just trying to make the show entertaining, but it's clear she'd simply take things too far. And if the personal stories people posted on Reddit are to be believed, she treats people that don't have celebrity status even worse. One Redditor wrote, "True story. My buddy and I rented a room on Airbnb on Sunset Boulevard in LA. The owner of the house was an Emmy award-winning writer and worked on Ellen's show. We asked about Ellen and mentioned how nice she seemed to us. He replied that she is an awful person to work for and very rude and mean to the writers. Nothing they wrote was good enough for her, and what you see on TV is a persona. She's a don't meet your hero kind of person." Another wrote, "I went to a wedding about 6 years ago in Hollywood. At the wedding was a girl who was some sort of close assistant of Ellen. I reacted by saying, 'Oh, that's so cool. How is it working with her?' The response was along the lines of, 'Actually, it's terrible. I quit my job and dream because she made me so miserable.' Someone replied, 'I work in TV and film. Everyone I have talked to who has worked with Ellen says she is a monster.' But all of this reached a whole new level in July 2020 when BuzzFeed released 2 news stories on what was happening behind the scenes of the Ellen show. They interviewed dozens of former employees who shared their horrible experiences working there. The first article revealed that workers faced racism, fear, and intimidation tactics day after day. One former employee said that be kind bullshit only happens when the cameras are on. It's all for show. People are being fired for taking medical leave or bereavement days, others for speaking out against the poor treatment they were receiving, and one for as little as posting a picture.
That goes for every celebrity, to be honest. Like, at the end of the day, we don't know these celebrities behind closed doors. Like, they all smile in front of the camera and act like they all angels, but behind closed doors, we really don't know them like that. That's why I don't understand all this hype of worshiping all these celebrities. Like, I don't get involved in that. So when I hear stories about celebrities, I'm like, I don't know them, so I can't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're still human beings at the end of the day, So that's why I said behind closed doors, you don't know how they are.
Picture with their co-workers on social media. A black woman who used to work on the show told BuzzFeed she experienced racist comments and microaggressions during her 1.5 years as an employee. When she was hired, a senior level producer told her and another black employee, "Oh wow, you both have box braids. I hope you don't get you confused." And at a work party, she said one of the main writers told her, "I'm sorry, I only know the names of the white people who work here." Most of the former employees blamed executive producers for the day-to-day toxicity, but the feeling was that ultimately it was Ellen's name on the show and she needed to take more responsibility for the workplace environment. In response to the allegations being made, Warner Brothers launched an internal investigation and they reportedly found deficiencies in the show's day-to-day management. This happened just before BuzzFeed released their second news story, which was arguably worse than the first. Dozens of former Ellen show employees say executive producers engaged in rampant sexual misconduct and harassment. One ex-employee said head writer and executive producer Kevin Lehman asked him for sexual favors in a bathroom at a company party in 2013. In May 2017, another former employee also said she saw Lehman grope a production assistant in a car and kiss his neck. It was said that Lehman routinely made sexually explicit comments in the office, specifically targeting lower-level employees who felt they lacked any power to speak up. There were similar reports about...
Why don't people just keep their hands to themselves? Is it really that hard? Oh my gosh.
Ed Glavin, another executive producer on the show. Apparently he had a reputation for being handsy with women, often placing his hands on their lower waist or rubbing their backs and shoulders without permission. 47 former employees said Glavin led with intimidation and fear on a daily basis, with one former employee saying that when they turned in their notice, Glavin flipped over a table and chair while screaming. Then there was the executive producer Jonathan Norman, who reportedly groomed an employee for months before making a move on him. In Ellen's defense, none of this was directly her doing, but some staff believe she knew what was going on and turned a blind eye. Following the internal investigation conducted by Warner Brothers, all 3 of these producers were fired from the show. Ultimately, Ellen had to take responsibility for what went on, and she started the 18th season of her show with a public apology.
As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show, and then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected.
The viewing figures for the show's 18th season showed just how damaging the controversy had been. They drew in an average of 1.4 million viewers per episode compared to 2019 when the average was 2.6 million. The fall in viewership came with reports that Ellen was struggling to book high-profile guests or even attract sponsors. It all seemed to be going downhill, and a couple of weeks before the season came to an end, Ellen announced that the next season would be her last.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened because I remember years ago when I haven't watched her in such a long time. I don't even remember the last time I watched her show. I believe it was in 2017 or maybe a little before that. I don't know, somewhere around there. I think it was the last time I watched her show. But I remember her saying that, you know, that year was the last year, and now I guess she changed her mind and came back, and now I don't know if she's still on. I don't even know if she's still on now, but wow.
Today, I am announcing that next season, season 19, is going to be my last season.
She claimed the decision had nothing to do with the drama from the previous year, but people connected the dots and they weren't convinced. The next and final season had a similar lackluster performance before Ellen said her final farewells. But even with the show ending, the negative news stories about Ellen didn't stop. In September 2022, Grayson Chance, a rising kid star Ellen took under her wing in 2010, came out about the way he was treated by her. Grayson went viral after he posted a cover of Lady Gaga's song Paparazzi on his YouTube channel. Ellen flew him out to appear on her show and told his mother that she's never going to have to work again a day in her life. She showered Grayson with gifts, including $10,000 and a new piano. But after signing him to her music label 1111, things took a turn for the worst. Grayson said that when he began touring, Ellen became overly controlling and domineering, and his whole week, month, or even year would change with just a single text from her. She would come in and look at a rack, yell at stylists, berate people in front of me, and say, "This is what you're wearing on the show." She was just degrading to people. One time, Ellen gave Grayson an advanced copy of Justin Bieber's Never Say Never documentary and told him to watch it. But given Grayson was working 14 to 16-hour days while touring, he was exhausted and didn't get around to it. When Ellen found out he hadn't watched it, she confronted his mother saying, "What type of mother are you? Do you realize that I went out of my way to get this for you and he can't sit down and watch it? Disappointed isn't even remotely what I'm feeling right now." After Grayson...
That's her child. What the hell? Like, this is why nothing is free in this world, okay? Even though she said it to the mother, "Oh, you would never have to work a day of your life." Be careful. Be careful.
Since 2012 EP underperformed, he said Ellen completely removed herself from his career and wouldn't return his calls. Not long after, she dropped him from her label entirely. His final words were that he's never met someone more manipulative, more self-centered, and more blatantly opportunistic than Ellen. What's unsettling about this story and all the others is just how different Ellen seems to be from her on-screen persona. There's no question she's helped a lot of people out during her career, but she's clearly not the saint people thought her to be. And after nearly 2 decades of dominating daytime TV, it's hard not to wonder how many other people she's mistreated along the way.
That's sad. I've seen a YouTube video about a guy who had his own coffee. I think it was like a coffee he had his own coffee, what you call it? Oh my god. He sells coffee on the street, and I think her team had they love his coffee. They love his coffee. So I think they invited him to come on the show or something like that. And he had to, I'm trying to remember the details. I have to find the video. But basically he was saying how he never got paid. They promised to pay him and all type of stuff, and he never got paid, and they was nasty. They never, he went on the show, he gave away a lot of free coffee, something like that, but he never got paid. Never got paid. He thought he was gonna make some money, but they promised to pay him and they never did. He talked about it on YouTube. I wish I could find that video. I'm gonna see if I could try to find it. If I find it, I'll put the link in the description. If I can't find it, if you don't see it, that means I didn't find it. If you don't see it. But yeah, it's just sad that, you know, she's like this. But comment below, let me know how you feel about this. Are you a fan of Ellen, and how you feel about hearing all of this stuff about her? And make sure you subscribe to my channel, because I will react to these type of videos. And yeah, take care. Bye. Peace.